morning, everyone, and welcome to The Writer's Mind. I'm your host, CP Balois, and today we're going to be concluding our Exploring the Publishing World with vanity presses. What are vanity presses? Well, they are what they sound. They basically rely on our vanity to want to be published. Whether it's a short story, like for a magazine, art mostly for me, it's about books. That's what I mostly see anyway, with our books. Because, excuse me, it's hard to be traditional published times. There's a lot of people trying to vie for it, so it's a process. You have to go through a lot of steps. You have to go through a lot of growth, a lot of development. Same with self-publishing. Yeah, you can just write it and throw it up, but it's also more work, and not all of us have time. Some might be a stigma because self-publishing, it still has a stigma where it's just not legitimate. Air quotes. So it's various takes. Everyone has a different thought on it. Everyone has a different experience with it. And that's kind of where vanity presses come in. If I want to just say first off, I'm not a fan of them. I understand them. I understand the desire to use them. So, no judgment. I just want to say I'm not a fan of them. And I am a firm believer that, if you should never have to pay to have your work published. That's it. If they like it, they accept it, they publish it. It's how publishers work. That's how magazines work, websites. If you have to pay to be published, it's a vanity press. And I'm not a fan of it because that means they take anyone. That's not saying your story's not as bad or anything, but it's just they don't care. If you got the cash, they'll post it. And a lot of times they charge a lot. I've known people that have spent $2,500 to have their book published. And because you have to buy X number of copies, like 10 copies, 20 copies, 40 copies of the physical book, and then you gotta load the books. How you gonna load the books? They'll have like a marketing site and everything, but it's like everything else. It comes down to us marketing. I know for myself, it's just easier to market ebooks or through online sites than it is to actually market the physical books in my hands. So it's my personal preference. But what vanity presses do offer is just that, to get published. Depending on the company, they offer editing services. They do the cover art. They publish a book. They do offer to outlets. So always they are like a publisher. They are like a small publisher. They do all of that for it. They might even market some. Every company is different. It's like, I'm sure there are some good ones. I'm sure the ones aren't that expensive out there. It's just for me, I just don't believe in paying to have it published. That's just my thing for the right of it. Everyone has different viewpoints. If it works for you, phenomenal. I'm glad. Great. Knock yourself out. I'm glad it works. But you have to pay. You can pay for the different branches. Sometimes it's a huge package. Something be divided up. But that's why it's like they're called vanity. Excuse me. They're called vanity presses because they're going after our vanity. Because we want to get published, and it can be simple things. They look legitimate, and instead, like a lot of things they do, they are legitimate publishers. They go through all the steps. And it's just that whole difference is that paying to not paying. And it's an easier route. It's like, and then the traditional publisher, it's like you don't have to maybe go through 30 revisions. Maybe you do, again, depending on the company. But it's an actual publisher. And it's for people that, they don't want to self-publish because, maybe they don't want the stigma. Maybe it's, they don't have the time for it. And it's just easier. The time for the church, but the time to go through all the steps on that. So it's just easier, and that's fine. If it works for them, great. That's what this whole thing is about. How we publish, what we write, everything else is what works best for us. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean doesn't work for someone else. I've known people that have had a great experience with it. They love the people they work with. They got their book, had no problem selling, everything went great. I'm happy for them. It's like, that's awesome. Others have sat there and like, never again. Not doing this. And if myself, I tend to be cheap. So I'll see the price. I'm like, oh, no. That's just me. So it depends. But again, like whenever you work with them, it's like working with a group of people, like any group of people. You have the good, the bad, in between. You can have a great editor. You can have a great cover artist on one hand, and someone else can get someone else not. And that's the whole thing. A lot of them let you choose your teams. Some small publishers sometimes do that. They'll let you choose your teams. Like you can choose your editor. book cover art, stuff like that. So it's like, so it depends. I mean, significant differences. It comes with a price. It's not bad. It's still a publisher. They are like traditional small publishers, but the, that difference is you pay to play, and they won't refuse you. So it's a good thing. Yeah, so you can actually see your vision out there. You can actually have everything professionally done, professionally edited, everything else if you choose to. So it's definitely it's a viable option. It's like all of them are what works best for us, whether it's traditional, self-publishing, Vanity Press. It's whatever works for us. If one works better than the other, great. If it doesn't work and something and one finds else, great. It's about being fluid. It's about, again, embracing us, following our path, what we feel works best for us. And that's, at the end of the day, that's all it's about. We want write for us, publish for us, and it's our dream, our hope, our goal to be published, to entertain others. If we make some money on the side, great. Hopefully, right? Love to make a living writing. Everyone does. Love to create. So, it is what it is. It's everything. Every aspect has its pros and cons. It has things like, oh, you never want to do that. Yeah, again, that's opinion. You never want to do this, you never want that. That would be my opinion, just like someone else's. So at the end, find what works for you. Everything out there is opinions. You have to sift through it, find what works for you, keep that. Get rid of the rest, and try to enjoy the ride. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you have any comments or questions, stories of your own, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time, have a great one. Bye.